Welcome back, everybody, to 3 Point Lines here on the Parlay. I'm your host, Luca Rosano, with a very special guest. Jelani Reid is joining us for the first time on this show. Let's see if Jelani can do a lot better than Noor, although these days it's not that hard to do that. I have to take a shot at Noor. But honestly, my record sucks too, so I can't be talking a lot of trash. 24 and 46 overall. I'm just hitting 52% of my picks, man. So I listen, people are gonna have to listen to you for this one because I have been on a dreadful cold streak. So I'm hoping, Jelani, you bring the people some good luck.
Yeah, let's look. I'm an NBA fan. I love the Raps. So guys, I got you. We'll see if Luca can, get back on track with his picks, and we'll see what Noor does when she comes back. But happy to be here. Let's do this.
Yeah, appreciate having you on. All right, we got 11 games tonight in the association on this fine Friday. We're going to start with the Clippers taking on the 76ers. 76ers, 8.5-point favorites. Are you laying that here?
I'm going with the Sixers here. They've been playing good basketball as of late. We're seeing that they've won 8 out of their last 10 against the spread, right? So you're also looking at, yes, key guys are out. Thibault, you have Danny Green, obviously Shake Milton. They were out with injuries, but Embiid, he's carried them. He's looked like an MVP type guy so far. Look at his numbers this year, 28, 10, and 4. I believe what they could do in terms of, defense, right? They're 7th in opponent points per game. So when I'm looking at that and the Clippers, who's going to step up for the LA Clippers? Will it be Zubac? He has a nice game the other day, but can he, duplicate that? And also you're looking at the fact that Reggie Jackson, he also had a nice night a few nights ago, but I just don't trust them in that area. So I'd put the points with the Philadelphia 76ers here. And when you're looking at LA, they might be pretty tired, right? Because they're currently on an 8-game trip, right? Their trip is actually the longest road trip of any team this season. So the fatigue's going to be there. I think that the easy pick here for me, at least, is Philadelphia.
Yeah, I hate laying the number. It's literally not been the recipe for any of my successes this season, but I have to go with the Sixers here. I got to lay that 8.5. The Clippers, they are just banged up right now. Obviously, without their 2 superstars, they're very, very thin, and they're taking on a Sixers team. Joel Embiid, I think, is going to have another monster game inside. He's coming off a 50-burger. What's he going to do against this Clippers team? I know Zubac is there, provides some size to try to slow him down, but you're not going to stop Embiid. He's going to get his. I wouldn't be surprised if he has easily a 30-plus point game in this one. The Sixers are very good defensively. They're a very good home team. And the Clippers, it's just been a long, dreadful year for them. You got to credit them because they have done a good job of playing with whatever has been thrown their way, but now it's just starting to catch up too much. And you see it with those guys out there. They're tired, they're fatigued, they're on this massive road trip, and they're taking on a Sixers team. Don't look now, but they are a very big dark horse. I don't even know if you can call them a dark horse, but they're a team in the East that nobody's really talking about in terms of getting out of the East. We're all talking about the darlings, of course, the Nets, the Bulls, even the Heat, but this Sixers team, they're taking care of their business without Ben Simmons. And I think they're going to get it done here. This is a very good team. And Joel Embiid, I mean, with every single game that he's playing in, he's looking like an MVP candidate, in my opinion. So I think the Sixers get it done here.
Okay, and now let's move to the next game. Speaking of LA, we have the Lakers. Oh boy, what's going on over there, guys? We have them and the Orlando Magic. Lakers favored by 5.
Okay, the obvious pick has to be the Lakers here, right? I mean, last time they played the Magic, they won by 12. But I don't know if I can take the Lakers or put my money on them. Call me crazy, but I am actually going to go with the Magic here, who are going to be at home, because I have no faith in the Lakers whatsoever. What's going on with Westbrook? He got benched last game. Is he going to be played in major minutes down the stretch here? LeBron James, he's coming into this one not 100% banged up. This Lakers team, they're old, they're tired, it's not working, and every time you think they're going to bounce back and beat a team they're supposed to beat, they get embarrassed. Look at the last game. They were favored by a similar line against the Pacers. The Pacers beat them outright, and that was in LA. This is going to be on the road. I know you're playing the worst team in the NBA, but I just have no faith or trust in the Lakers. If they win this game, I think it's going to be an escape type of win where they win by a couple points, but they have not shown me anything where I can trust them with my bet and with my dollars. So yeah, this is going to be a very, very questionable pick to many. But I got to go with the Magic here. The Lakers are a mess right now. I really don't see them turning this thing around unless they go out and make a big time trade at the deadline.
Man, oh man, I don't know what's going on with the Lakers. You're looking at the fact that Vogel is on game by game, job security right now. I'm going to go with the Lakers here, but do I have a lot of faith in that pick? No, definitely not, given the fact that they've been playing really inconsistent basketball throughout the year. But I just look at, LeBron, obviously, we know what he's doing at 37 years old. He's ridiculous, right? But I look at an X factor here. I think Malik Monk will be important out there, averaging 16.5 points per game in his last 10, excuse me. So he's going to have an impact, I feel. But yeah, the Magic, they're just not a good team, obviously, but they're not good at home either. 2-16 in home games, 1-9 in their last 10 overall. So yes, we could expect guys like Wagner to have a nice impact, obviously make his case for Rookie of the Year still. But, when I'm looking at the fact that the Magic 29th in point differential, I think the Lakers need to take advantage of that in this game. And you obviously see all the rumors, all the buzz with LA, all the issues. They have to find a way to win some games. This is a spot where they have to get it done. I think they will get it done against lesser competition. Although, again, they have struggled with certain teams this season, but I think this is a spot where we'll actually see them come through for once and make things okay for the time being. Give me the Lakers.
Who would have thought ex-Raptor Stanley Johnson would be one of their best players at this point? Unbelievable right now. All right, next game, we're going to be looking at the OKC Thunder. They're going to be taking on the Hornets here, and the spread is 9.5 in favor of the Hornets.
Here, I'm going to take the Hornets. This is going to be a nice game. I think, Melo versus Shea. I think LaMelo Ball is just sensational. I love what he can do, what he can provide. He's coming off of a triple-double the other day, and Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, he's coming off of a tough night where he shot 5 for 21. So let's see how he looks in this one. Charlotte, winners of 6 of their last 7 games. And, for bettors out there, they're 13-3 against the spread in their last 16 home games. So that should show you how reliable they've been. They've had a good year. I like what their lineup can do. I think that when you're looking at Charlotte being, second last in opponent points per game, that is concerning. But when you're looking on the other side, OKC is 30th in points per game. So that kind of evens out. And the biggest note is that Charlotte can score. Despite the fact that they allow points, they could score points. They're second in the league in points per game. So not just allowing points, but also scoring points. That will be huge, obviously. And OKC, they're coming off of their 3rd contest in this 4-game road swing in 6 nights. So they're going to be tired. I'm going to give the edge to Charlotte here. And also, I just look at the Thunder. They've scored 97 or fewer points in 6 of their last 11 games. So that, again, leads me to believe that Charlotte will outscore them here. We'll probably see a nice night from not just LaMelo, but all the parts there. We might see a nice night from Miles Bridges, probably Kelly Oubre, guys like that. And obviously Terry Rozier coming off of a nice game against his former team in Boston, right, where he scored 28. So yeah, give me Charlotte.
Yeah, they've been a safe bet, the Hornets at home, but I'm actually going to go the other way. I think this is going to be a track meet. You mentioned both these teams give up a ton of points, and I think this is going to be Ball against Shea. We've seen Shea erupt in some of these games, going for 30-plus points. I think he's going to have a big-time night tonight. He's coming off a very tough outing, but it was against a Spurs team that knows how to neutralize your best player at times. But I think tonight he's going to have a much better game. Lou Dort as well is going to chip in. And you look at the Thunder, they have been playing in a lot of road games, but in their last 5 games, they have actually kept games close in 4 of them. And not to mention, one of those games was a straight up win against the Nets. Obviously, Durant didn't play in that one, but that's still a nice win when you're going up against Brooklyn any time of the season. So I think this is way too many points for me. I do think the Hornets will win this game, but I can see the Thunder making it interesting in the second half and just keeping up with a team that, like you said, they have a tendency of giving up a ton of points. And whenever you're going up against a guy like Shea who can get it going and get hot at any time, not a good recipe for the Hornets here. So I think the Thunder will actually make this game competitive. And yeah, for that reason, I will take the points plus 9.5.
Okay, and now let's move to a southeastern battle with the Miami Heat and the Atlanta Hawks. Hawks favored 1.5.
Yeah, so Lowry out, Hero out, Oladipo out, Morris out, Okpala out, but I'm still taking the Heat. And that's because the Heat have been one of the best teams in the league of dealing with so many injuries, dealing with health and safety protocols, and having that next man up mentality. These guys put out guys you hardly even heard of, and they're giving you production. And Jimmy Butler will be there, and we know what he's capable of doing. Whereas the Hawks, they have not been a good team at all. I feel like their championship this season was that win against the Bucks on MLK Day. I think that was just an anomaly. I don't expect that to make them go on a run whatsoever. I don't even know if they're, what their direction is. Are they going to make another trade after trading away Reddish? I wasn't really a fan of that deal. But this Hawks team trending in the complete opposite direction as they were a season ago. Miami, they are the kings, I think, of winning in these close games when they are shorthanded, when they're undermanned. And I'm actually surprised, Jelani, they are an underdog in this spot because they have been a pretty safe bet. They have strung together a lot of wins. This is a team that's, sitting in first, and they're looking really good right now. They're my dangerous pick in the East. I think they're going to come away with the victory. The Hawks have not proven to me that they can go on a run this season, and their defense stinks too. So I can go on and on about that as well. But give me the Heat here to cover the spread and win this game outright.
Yeah, no, I actually agree with you. Despite all the guys out for Miami, I mean, it is, probably going to leave people to believe that, the Heat are just going to get, walked on. But I don't think so. I look at this Heat team and I see what they've done without their big names night after night. I just look at the depth they have. They have so much depth. And that's also, you got to point to Spoelstra. He's my favorite coach in the league. He's been my favorite coach for years. I think he's got to be in the discussion for Coach of the Year, just with what he's been dealing with. He hasn't had all his best guys night by night. You mentioned it, whether it's COVID or injuries. Bam Adebayo, shout out to my fantasy team. He was out for a while. So just all the issues that have gone on with Miami in that area, in those areas, but they've managed to win games. Look at their last 14. They've won 11 of those, right? They're fourth in points per game allowed. So that should help in this one against a high-scoring offense in Atlanta. I think that you got to give them the edge here, despite, again, all those guys out. We're going to see guys like Strus, Yurtseven, Dwayne Dedmon, Gabe Vincent. All these guys are going to contribute to this game, obviously, given the fact that those guys are out. I believe in the depth that Miami has. They're going to play tough, and Atlanta just hasn't been playing good basketball either, right? They've lost 11 of their last 16. So have they been reliable? No, they haven't. And it's disappointing because you're looking at the landscape, not of just the Eastern Conference, but the league, and you're going to say to yourself, is Atlanta the most disappointing team in the NBA right now? They were just in the Eastern Conference Finals a year ago, and now it's really looking unclear, uncertain of how, things are going to play out as we move, after the All-Star break and closer to playoff time. So I do recommend that they also make a move after, shipping Cam Reddish. I think they need to, shore up their roster in another way. But yeah, I think that Miami should be the pick here despite all those guys being out.
All right, we agree there. Next game, we got the Blazers taking on the Celtics, 8-point favorites at home.
Yeah, so here I got the Boston Celtics. Obviously, they recently acquired Bol and PJ Dozier, so that was nice. But yeah, I think when you're looking at the Celtics this year, they've been a bit inconsistent. Honestly, they have been a bit poor at times, and you're saying to yourself in their last matchup, you had Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. They didn't have a good shooting night, right, from three-point land. I think here against Portland, they're going to have a rebound game. And also, you're looking at the last time these two teams met, Boston destroyed them 145-117. So can they duplicate that once again? Can they do that? I think they can. Maybe not by that margin, but I think it might start off close in the first half. But as we move through the third and fourth quarters, I think that the Celtics will find their way and pull this one through. So give me the points with the Celtics. One guy, though, that I'm looking at on the other side that the Celtics need to, really key on is Anthony Simons. I mean, he's the X factor, right? In his recent games, he's scored 27, 31. He's had a 23-point night, a 43-point night, 28. So he could put the ball in the bucket. So you have to look at him. Obviously, Nurkic as well, with 20.7 points per game and 16.7 rebounds in his past 3. So if you could key in on those guys, it gives you a better chance. But Portland, they haven't been a good road team, okay? 4-15 on the road. So what can I really do with that? I think the Celtics here get it done. I would like to see, though, more of their guys and their bench specifically do something, because it can't just be, the problem with the Celtics is just the two guys that we always talk about. We have Jason Tatum and we have Jaylen Brown. Who else is going to step up for these guys? I want to see somebody make some work in terms of scoring. If not scoring, then do the other things: assists, rebounds, get it back on the floor on defense. You got to contribute. So I'm looking at Marcus Smart, Robert Williams. They'll be back in the lineup. And Williams is important also to deal with Nurkic. Give me the Celtics here, though.
Yeah, the Celtics are an interesting team, and I'm wondering if they are going to be aggressive and make a move at the deadline, because like you said, I just think they need something else outside of Tatum and Brown. It's like they're always relying on those two to come through, and they don't have enough around them. And obviously, you're not going to win just relying on one or two guys a night in the NBA. I originally had the Blazers in this one, but then I actually switched it to the Celtics because, as much as I want to make a case for the Blazers, they have not been a good road team. They have not been a good defensive team. And for as much as I hate betting on the Celtics, they're starting to turn it around a little bit, right? They've won 5 of their last 7. They're getting it going. And this has been a team that has been inconsistent all season long. But maybe this is their chance of making up some ground and getting back into a decent playoff spot. You mentioned some of the guys who are going to be back there, having Smart, but I want to see other guys step up for the Celtics team. Can they get good bench production? And can guys help Tatum and Brown, especially when they set out? Are they able to, count on a Peyton Pritchard? And can they have an easier time against a team like the Blazers that don't have any business winning this game? Simons has been a breath of fresh air for them, obviously stepping up with Dame being out. McCollum, we know what he's capable of. But the Blazers, they're headed for just a total retool, I think. You could even maybe call it a rebuild. They're not trending in the right direction. They got pieces there. I'm interested to see what they do at the deadline. Are they going to be looking to sell some pieces? Because last year they were buying, right? They would go out and get Powell, and they're looking to make a push, and then everything hit the fan for them. So, I don't like where the Blazers are headed. And they did keep it close in that game against Miami through 3 quarters. But then in the 4th, when the Heat locked down defensively, they ended up winning that game and covering that spread. So I can see the Celtics having a similar type, outcome in this one, where it could be close early, but once the 4th quarter hits, I think the Blazers fall apart. Celtics, they get it done. So I'll lay the 8. Not confidently in the 8, but I will, just given how poorly the Blazers have been overall.
Okay, so we agree with that one as well. And now let's move to the Chicago Bulls and the Milwaukee Bucks. Milwaukee 10.5-point favorites, and Chicago, so banged up. So do you take the Bulls somehow?
Yeah, this one's tough. I am actually going to go with the Bulls. I know they're going to be, missing some key guys, Ball and Levine, but Caruso being back is big. We saw how much better the Bulls were defensively in their last win against the Cavaliers. This is a team that I think can keep this game close. Now, do I think they're going to win this game? No, but 10.5 is slightly too high for a Bucks team that we know they're the Bucks, but they have had, a bit of an inconsistent last couple of weeks, losing to the Raptors, losing to the Hawks, keeping games close against teams that they would normally blow out. This has not been the Bucks team that the odds makers are making them out to see, like a team that's going to blow out everybody in their path. You got to still put respect on the Bulls' name, and most notably DeMar DeRozan and even Nikola Vucevic. He's really upped his game with those 2 star players being out for the Bulls. So I think if the Bulls can have another sound defensive game, they get good production from DeRozan and Vucevic, the bench comes up big, I think they can make this one interesting and keep it close against a Bucks team that has not looked like their old selves in the last couple of games that they've played in. Now, they do have to limit Milwaukee shooting the three. They love shooting the three ball. And if Milwaukee gets going from deep early, this could be a blowout. But if the Bulls can neutralize that 3-point shooting and that defense can, really come into its own for this one, I do like the Bulls' chances of at least keeping this game close. So I will take Chicago here on the road against the Bucks. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, I'm going with Milwaukee here, and I'm obviously looking at all the injuries with Chicago. It's pretty tough because they finally get a contending team, and all these guys are going out. So I'll see what happens with Chicago as we move forward. But, one funny note is that they just actually struggle on ESPN. This game is probably going to be flexed to ESPN, but they haven't been a good team on there. They've lost by 26 to Brooklyn. They lost by 42 to Golden State, 13 to Memphis as of late. So a lot of people joke about Chicago being way better on TNT than ESPN, and we'll see what happens tonight. But I'm looking at Antetokounmpo, and obviously Middleton together. Giannis and Chris, they've had a good stretch as of late, averaging together 57.2 points per game, 17 rebounds, 13 assists. So when you're averaging that in your past six and you're rolling, you're starting to find your groove. I like what Milwaukee can provide. I know that the points a bit large, to be honest with you, but I think that the trust has to be with the Milwaukee Bucks as they look to continue climbing up the Eastern Conference ranks. I would want to just say this, though. I think that DeMar DeRozan is going to have a nice game, so watch out for that. If you're doing any prop bets, I think he's going to have a nice day. But all in all, I just look at what you mentioned, the three-point shooting with Milwaukee. I think that's going to be a key factor in this one. And the injuries, the beat-up Bulls right now, a lot of guys are out. How are they going to deal with Giannis? How are they going to deal with Middleton, that duo who will be playing well? And I believe that Jrue Holiday coming back, he'll probably get some more reps, some more time to get back in rhythm. He won't have, a sensational game, but he'll have his impact and presence felt. So give me the Bucks.
Yeah, it is important to know, too, when the Bucks' big three is playing together, they have an outstanding record. That team is so much better when all three of those guys are on the court at the same time. So we'll see what happens with that one. All right, next game, we got the Raptors. Can they get out of their slide? They're taking on the Wizards, and I'm surprised by this. The odds makers actually giving the slight edge to the Wizards. This is a pick'em game, but they do have the Wizards billed at -1 point favorites.
Yeah, I disagree with that. I'm going with the Raptors, not being a homer, but I'm looking at the fact that the Raps, despite the fact that they're 1-4 over the last 5, they have been playing really good basketball. They've been tight with really good teams. You're looking at the Phoenix game. That should have been a W. Miami, that could have been a W, and also the Dallas game. So now you're playing a team in Washington who I don't consider to be as good as those teams. I think that the Raptors can make some noise here and get back in the win column. They're 2-1, on the year against Washington. I think that, when you're looking at the Washington Wizards, they haven't been that good against the spread as of late. 1-5 in their last 6 and 1-7 in their last 8 overall. So can you trust them as of late? No, you can't. But I think that the Raptors, because I'm picking them, I'd like to see them shoot a bit better from the field. In their last few games, they have struggled in that area. But I feel like this could be a night where we see a lot from Pascal Siakam. I feel like he's getting discredited. I think a lot of people out there aren't really talking about him. He's having a pretty nice year, to be honest with you. And I would like to see him have another good night. I think he can do that for the Raptors tonight. And I know Washington, they have been the healthier team, so you'd like to put your bet there. But, when the Raps play on the road, they are a tough out. They always play tough. They always make it close, right? They're always within 5 points or at least winning the game. So this is a tough bet if you're going Washington. Give me the Raptors here.
Yeah, the only concern I have with the Raptors is how are they going to look in the second half? When you have virtually no bench and you're playing these guys 40-plus minutes a night, we're seeing a common theme, especially in that third. They have no legs under their shot. And we saw Fred VanVleet have a rare off night. Siakam couldn't really get it going in that third quarter. They're really missing another scorer, and his name is Gary Trent Jr. So I'm hoping the Raptors can avoid that. And I'm looking actually for Scotty Barnes to have a big game. I think his player prop tonight is 12.5. I actually like him to go over. We're starting to see him come into his own a little bit. I know defensively he still has his lapses, but offensively he shot the ball much better overall in that last game against the Mavs. But yeah, I am going to back the Raptors in this spot. I think this is a game where you can get away with playing 6 or 7 guys and still coming away with a W. I do expect a big night from Siakam. I agree there. And Van Vliet, mix that in with Scotty Barnes. And I think the Raptors core here will all have big games. I can see them all having double digits in terms of scoring and beating a Wizards team that has been relatively inconsistent, right? They've been playing 500 basketball all season. They got some nice players. Obviously, you got Kuzma, Bradley Beal, Harrell, but this is a team that they peaked early and they've fallen back to what I thought they were going to be, just a fringe borderline 500 team that probably could sneak into the playoffs. But all in all, the Raptors have a lot more talent than this team, and I think that will be on showcase tonight. And just some numbers to back up this pick. Raptors, usually a good bet against Washington. They're 12-2 straight up in their last 14 against them. 5-0 straight up in the last 5 games in Washington, and they're 12-4-1 against the spread in their last 17 games overall. And then you mentioned this one, the Wizards 1-7 against the spread in their last 8. So I think the Raptors finally win a close one here, but I do expect it to be just that, a close game. I would not be surprised if this one goes all the way down to the wire, because for some reason Raptors games always follow that same pattern where it could be decided on a last second shot. Honestly, I would not be surprised if tonight's game, Jelani, is decided on a last second shot buzzer beater. You heard it here. I just have that feeling, but I will go with the Raptors.
All right, yeah, no, let's hope that we get the W here. And also, Pascal Siakam, I just think that he's going to have a nice day because, the last meeting, they were up by 25, as much as 25, and he had 31 in that game, and he did everything on the floor. So we'll see what happens with the Raps tonight. Let's hope for the W. And now let's move now to the Nets and the San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs are the underdogs here, but shout out to DeJounte Murray. He's having a good year.
Yeah, so I'm surprised this line is what it's at right now. So, I think the Spurs are going to ultimately lose this game. I thought it was going to be a bigger spread in favor of the Nets. I will take the Nets here. I think James Harden will be able to do enough with that supporting cast. And also, you look at the Spurs team, just an overall down year for them. They haven't won back-to-back games all month either. So they do have nice pieces. Like you said, Murray, Pirtle's been great too. His name's been linked to the Raptors and some rumors. I would love to have him back, but there's no consistency with this young team. And for the first time, I would say in our lifetime, the Spurs are going through a rebuild, right? Under Coach Popovich. For as long as I can remember being a kid, the Spurs were always a dominant elite team, and they have fallen back tremendously, especially this season, not having DeRozan there, and they are not a playoff team. They're far removed from that. I could see this being a trap game, though. I think that's why the line is only 1, because the Spurs are at home, and the Nets, you never know what you're going to get from them. I mean, if KD's playing this game, you're riding the Nets all day, every day. But when he's not there, we don't know which version of the Nets we're going to get. We don't know if James Harden is going to show up and if he's going to do more than just relying on getting to the foul line. So I do expect the Nets, though, to pull through. They will win this game. It will be close, but give me the Nets -1. I think they'll win here.
Yeah, for me, I'm looking at the Spurs, and like you said, this is just a different type of Spurs team. It's not the same team that we grew up knowing and grew up loving, right? So now I see this game, and I'm going with the Nets. I think, despite the fact that guys are out like Claxton, like Bembry, the list goes on and with Harrison and guys like that. I think that the Nets, they just offer up more. I believe, though, the Spurs, because their youth, they could somehow make this close. There is a possibility of that. Look at the line. But I just believe in, like you said, James Harden. I believe what he can do will just outdo what the Spurs will provide. And also, the Spurs have just struggled from home. They're just not a good home team whatsoever. And overall, in their last 13 games, they've lost 10 of their past 13. So the Spurs struggling right now, and Brooklyn a lot more reliable on the road as we look at their 16-5 record on the road in total this season. And the Spurs, again, from home, they are under 500. Yes, like I mentioned, Murray, I believe he's one of the more underrated guys in the NBA. He's one of my favorite players to watch. He's averaging 23.7 in his last 10 games. So watch out for him at 48.7 field goal percentage. So he's probably going to make his presence felt, of course. But yeah, I just don't think the Spurs have enough to get this one done. So give me Brooklyn.
All right, we agree there. Next game, we got the Pistons taking on the Jazz. Big line here, the Jazz, 14-point favorites.
Yeah, the Jazz, they've been looking pretty weird as of late. I started the year thinking they were in the championship bubble. They still could be in that, but man, they've just been very inconsistent as of late, and probably not going to have Donovan Mitchell out there again. Utah, again, they had a good start to the year, but they've been all over the place. The Jazz, losers of 6 of their last 7 games. Are they going to step up here? I think this line's too big. I'm going with the Pistons, to be honest with you. And I get it. It's Detroit. They haven't really been that good. But this might be a night where we see Saddiq Bey have a nice game. I'm looking at him, and the Jazz, despite the fact that they're one of the better teams in the West, with one of the better rosters in the West, they just lost and blew a huge lead against Houston the other night. And look at Houston, they're, in the basement right now. So this is another team that you might expect them to just, walk on and do, everything they want to. But I can't put my trust in Utah as of late from what I've seen. They just haven't been as good defensively. They haven't been as good in terms of the 3-ball as of late. And yes, when we're looking at a few weeks ago, these two teams did meet. And Utah, they dropped that game.
Yeah.
Right? They were up by 22 a few weeks ago, and then they ended up losing that game by 10 points. We might see the same thing happen here. Detroit is capable of scoring points. The other night against Sacramento, 133. So I understand that Detroit, they might not have the team that you might trust in this spot with your bet, but I'm going to go with Detroit just because I think the number is a bit too much for a Utah team that really struggles to finish games. We've seen this as of late. They struggle to finish games. I don't know what it is, but they're going to have to fix that at some point. Give me Detroit.
Yeah, the one thing going for the Jazz is they are at home where they typically do play better. But I agree with you, Jelani. I cannot lay 14 with a Jazz team that has been very inconsistent. And quite frankly, they're looking very fraudulent. They were kind of going under the radar to begin the season while the Suns and the Warriors were doing what they were doing. The Jazz kept winning games. But now we're seeing major flaws on this team. This does not look like a team that could be people's sleeper pick to make it an NBA Finals. Not at all. The Pistons, they're so fascinating to me because I know their record suggests they're terrible, but they got a lot of good young players. Saddiq Bey is a stud.
Yeah.
Obviously you got Kate Cunningham doing his thing. He said, I'm the best rookie, and right now he's playing like it. He's putting up some great stat lines. They're going to be getting Olynyk back in this one. Jeremy Grant is going to be out, but overall, this Pistons team, I think they have enough firepower to make this game close, and 14 is way too many points. I do like the Pistons, who did beat this team 10 days ago, like you just said, to have some of that momentum and that confidence going into this one, and they're just playing a Jazz team that has not looked like themselves. So I think this is going to be a classic example of the Pistons just catching a team at the perfect time, right when they're starting to spiral downhill. So I like the Pistons plus 14. I think they get it done. And this is going to be another one of those head-scratching games if you're a Jazz fan.
Okay, let's see if the Jazz actually win a game. And now let's move to a really nice game on the night. We have the Memphis Grizzlies, obviously making a lot of noise this season against one of my favorite players, the Joker, Nikola Jokic, and the Denver Nuggets. Nuggets favored 3.5.
Yeah, this is going to be Jokic against the Grizzlies because I don't think Jokic has any help these days. I'm actually going to go with the Grizzlies. I just think Jokic, for as great as he is, he can't do everything. And this is going to be a game where the depth of the Grizzlies will come through. You obviously have John Moran playing out of his mind, some other nice pieces around him. Steven Adams, can he be the enforcer in this game? Try to cause some havoc amongst, Jokic, try to slow him down. I do like the Grizzlies here. They have been one of the hottest teams in the NBA. We already know they were on that massive win streak. And this is a team that is actually a really good road team. They have covered the number. And this is a game where I understand why the Nuggets are favorite because they are at home and Jokic's playing out of his mind. but I just like the strength in numbers for the Grizzlies here. So yeah, I think it's going to be a fantastic game, one of the games of the night, but I do like the Grizzlies, and their defense has been low key very good. So look for them to try to neutralize one of the best players in the NBA right now in the Joker.
I'm going with the Denver Nuggets here. I think that Memphis, obviously coming off of their 11-game win streak, it was really impressive, but they have come back down to earth a bit. And Denver, they're playing some good basketball as well. They've won 5 of their last 7. So we'll see what happens tonight. Like you said, I just hope that the supporting cast for Denver can step up and help this guy, because Jokic, he's coming off of a night where he almost had 50 points. Obviously, he had 14 rebounds and 10 assists. So he's been doing a lot of work for this team. But a few nights ago, he did get help from his guys like Aaron Gordon, like Monte Morris. I'd like to see more of that tonight. And they're definitely going to have to step up tonight, because Memphis, they are a good defensive team, and they have been a safe bet, 12-2 in their last 14 against the spread, but they haven't been as safe in Denver in terms of a bet, because the Grizzlies 1-4-1 against the spread in their last 6 in Denver. So we'll see what happens with that. Desmond Bain still out, Tyus Jones still out, looking at those guys. But yeah, I just think that, the Grizzlies, they just dealt with Giannis. So Giannis, he did a lot of work there against the Grizzlies, and now they have to go up against Jokic. I think Jokic is going to have a big night. I think Jokic is going to be the difference. This will definitely be a close one, I believe. But again, I'm looking at the fact that the Denver Nuggets tonight, I just believe that their supporting cast is actually going to step up to the plate. They understand the Grizzlies, one of the better teams in the Western Conference. This is not necessarily a statement game, but this is a game you want to get, obviously, as we move forward. And positioning for the playoffs is going to be important as we move forward. So yeah, I think Denver will get somebody to step up tonight. I'm looking specifically at Monte Morris as the X factor.
All right, and then the final game of Friday night, we got the Rockets taking on the Warriors. The Warriors, 10.5-point favorites. Before you're quick to lay the points with the Warriors, FYI, this team, they were favored by 11.5 against the Pacers last night, and they lost the game outright in overtime.
Yeah. I got to go Golden State here. Houston, in the basement of the Western Conference, but they have been playing well as of late, actually, on the road. Houston has won a few games, a few good games, but Golden State, they have a trip coming up where they do play certain good teams. They have the Jazz, they have the Mavs, they have the Nets. So when you're playing those teams, also the Wolves not that bad either. So when you're going into a trip like that and you're starting off with the Houston Rockets, you want to get a win, right? You want to start off right. So I think that they are going to start off right. I don't think Klay's playing. Steph probably not going to be out there too. We'll see. But I just believe in what they could provide in terms of their depth over Houston. I think Houston, again, they're just, a bit inexperienced. Obviously, they're a young group. Trying to find their way right now. And despite the fact, like I said, that they have been 3-1 in their last 4 road games, I just think that Golden State will outscore them, and the 3-ball will be very important today. I think that the 3-ball will be present for the Golden State Warriors. And, they just made work of the Detroit Pistons the other night, right? They handed it to them. So you're playing another young team in Houston. I just think that they're going to do something similar to that. But yes, the number, it's a bit big, and we saw what happened with the Pacers the other day. But yeah, give me Golden State, who's been more reliable than Houston against the spread. When you're looking at your bets, you're looking at the fact that the Warriors 25-18-2 against the spread, and Houston's been 20-25-1. So the more reliable side, Golden State, despite the fact that the Splash Bros might not be out there. I just think that the 3-ball is going to be very important here, and it was in the last matchup, because in the last matchup, Golden State, they held Houston to 30% shooting, right? So they were almost in the 20s from 3-point land. So if that's the case once more, give me the Warriors.
Yeah, I got to go with the Rockets here just because of how many guys could potentially be out for the Warriors. You just mentioned it. The Splash Brothers could be out. Green's not going to be there. Wiseman, they're both out indefinitely. Iguodala is questionable. Porter Jr. did get the day off yesterday, so he should be playing tonight. But I just think that's way too much offensive firepower for a Warriors team that they put up a ton of points. Yes, their defense is good, but I just think this team, for whatever reason, I think they're just bored out there. I mean, they're not playing the same dominant basketball they were at the start of the season. And we knew it was going to be a slow process with Clay being integrated back into the lineup. So it's not really a big surprise that they're dropping these games, but these bottom feeding teams, they're keeping it close against the Warriors. They're making games interesting. And the Rockets have been a mess this season, but they're coming into this one winning 3 of their last 4. So they have not been such a bad bet, especially on the road. And they got some good young pieces, that can have big games. Kevin Porter Jr., you got Tate, obviously you got Christian Wood. And can Eric Gordon be that X factor, that guy who can, put together a nice game? And even Garrison Matthews from off the bench, he had 23 in the game against the Jazz. So this is a Rockets team. They're not playing well, but I think this is going to be a matter of them catching the Warriors at the perfect time. And it is the second night of a back-to-back. And the Warriors did play in overtime. They logged major minutes for those other guys who are going to be asked to play many minutes tonight, with all of the players being out for Golden State. So I think it's too many points for me. I do expect the Warriors to sneak out a win, but give me the Rockets plus 10.5.
All right, we'll see what happens with that. But that is all our picks for the day. 11 games on tap tonight, so be sure to watch all of them, especially that Raptors one you want to win. But yeah, Luca, let's hope that your picks start to, get back in the win column, get back on that streak, because we obviously want to see who's going to win between you and Noor on this show for 3-point lines.
Well, thank you so much, Jelani, for filling in. And yeah, man, hopefully you're my good luck charm. Hopefully from this point on, I can string together a lot of winning weeks. But thank you so much, guys, for watching. This is 3-point lines here on the parlay. This is Luca Rosano and Jelani Reid. Have yourselves a great weekend. Best of luck with your picks, and we'll catch you all again on Monday. Take care.